We live?
We're live.
Live. Awesome. We'll give it one. We're like 30 seconds early. We'll give maybe even 45 seconds for folks to get in.
The 90-second sprint to the computer.
Watch that attendee list grow. And go ahead and deny the SonicWall note taker today. Hopefully, we have more human beings than note taking agents on this call today.
That's the future of like webinars and calls. It'll just be send your note taker proxy and we'll follow up with
it. If we get to that point, it'll help my golf game a lot.
Yeah.
The problem is you'd have to read the emails on the back end, right? Then now you have a text version of a webinar that could have been an email that could have been a text. So
the summary notes is pretty good though.
So, yeah, summary helps for sure.
I need the dictation app or the read aloud app because
Right.
Public school.
Or just start beaming it into my brain with whatever brain chip they're working on these days.
Mm-hmm. All right. Once we hit 50, we're going to roll. Well, how about that? Let's hope we get to 50. All right. I think we're close enough. We got the folks that show up on time. If you're early, you're never late. Thank you guys and gals for coming. This is our July partner business update session. Probably cover a couple things we talked about last time, right? Just because they're so important and kind of keeping the drumbeat on a couple of the important things. We do have some new things to talk about today as well. So the agenda, we're going to talk about licensing updates. I know you've probably gotten, more emails than you care to have about some of the licensing updates. Maybe have questions. We're going to try to just simplify it because it really is a simple message why we're making some changes to firewall bundles and a couple other things. We also want to dive into one of the newly released license offerings. That's the Managed Protection Service Suite, MPSS, for firewalls and some of the value, and talk through some of the different scenarios where you might be able to put that into play and why you'd consider it. We have a long list of current promotions to help us accelerate your profitability and margin potential, especially as we're at SonicWall kind of closing out our quarter this month. It lines up well with not only new offerings, but also some, last order date and end of sale legacy appliances that are going out as well. Then just teeing it up, stick around till the end. We'll talk about how you can get your hands on a new TZ80 here at the end of the session today. So joining me as always, Austin Fanning, global director of our inside sales group, and JT Fanning. We got the brothers Fanning. JT's title remains the same this week. It is Director of Strategic MSPs. He also helps us drive a lot of our cloud secure edge business as well. So we think we got you covered. I'll try not to say anything too stupid. So let's jump in, guys. A lot of talk about, with the release of NSM 3.0 and inclusion of NSM in licensing bundles, where in the past, if you've been with SonicWall for a while, right? It was confusing, right? Essential, advanced, what comes with what. We took that feedback and we really tried to just simplify our security bundles, right? So moving forward, just at a high level, you're going to have the option of Advanced Protection Service Suite. You can think of that as self-managed, right? Where you're going to have access to NSM. You can add on if you need extended periods of reporting and analytics. It's going to come with 7 days out of the box. Or you can talk about the managed offering, which is MPSS, which we're really going to kind of break down the value, cost difference, et cetera, today. That's it. Managed, unmanaged. What happened was we were including with the kind of update to the NSM licensing, we started including NSM with EPSS, and we were just kind of getting redundant. And it was overcomplicating things. So effective August 1, any new EPSS will not be available, right? Obviously, if you currently have EPSS, that's going to continue through the end of that term. The one caveat to that is EPSS licenses through the monthly service provider program. You see here at the bottom, no changes on that until January of 26. So you got a little time to prepare there, make a decision, is it going to be managed or unmanaged, right, in service provider? But that's the high level. So Austin, JT, I don't know if missed anything there. Want to plug a few holes?
No, and I think the big change for a lot of people is going to be that NSM, the feature set. I know that there has been challenges historically. Some partners have explored it 2, 3 years ago, and maybe weren't super wowed by it. There's a lot of advancement that's been made to the NSM tool. So if you want to, have a demo with your rep or pull Matt and I onto a call to kind of walk you through the changes and what's available now, I think that's going to be the big differentiator in terms of the management and the reporting that you're going to get. So worth taking a look at that, making sure that you understand the value add, and then again, evaluating, do I want to go self-managed through APSS, or do I want to go SonicWall kind of augmented management through MPSS?
So there's a nice little clean breakdown looking at everything side by side. So we effectively were able to remove one column here from the chart, the EPSS column. And if you look at, hardware only, which isn't an option, right? There's certain situations where, that may be a viable option. As long as we get support added to that, you're going to have the cloud management available to you. And you can kind of see the different service inclusion. Really, the only difference between the advanced and the managed is advanced is like we talked about. You have NSM advanced for 7 days with advanced reporting and analytics that you can extend to 30, 90, 365, depending on compliance or customer requirements. Out of the box, you have access to the $100,000 assurance warranty for anything purchased, November 1st or later. And talk about that a little bit here too, right? The controls that are required to have access to that to make a claim. For the managed offering, out of the box, you're getting 30-day reporting and analytics. Not only that, but you have our NOC team standing behind you, and we'll talk about the specifics around that. It gives you access to up to 200K in warranty per firewall, in that scenario through SiAssurance. So pretty clean, makes it a little simpler. Jumping ahead here, another licensing update we wanted to talk about are some changes transitioning from security as a service, our legacy, hardware as a service program that 7 years ago we flipped to Disty, right? It's about the time I started. That's coming to an end. I mean, the high level, and you probably saw some early announcement about this if you're a CCAS partner. As of August 1st, the official external announcement is going to happen. No new security as a service contracts will be offered, right? And ultimately, the full transition deadline will be a year from this August. So we're looking to move from, security as a service into the service provider monthly program by August of 26. The cool thing is, if you had a chance to look at the most recent price list, we actually have conversion SKUs available. So if you're past your 2-year commit, right, and you're at the point where it's like you're renewing it month to month, you're like, shoot, what do I do? Am I going to send this back? Do I have to, if I want to go into service provider, I don't really want to have to send a firewall back and buy a new one and light it up. We have conversion SKUs that you can apply those to, the existing contract. It'll effectively bring that ownership back to you or your customer, and you can start licensing that monthly through the service provider portal.
Yeah, Matt, we just did that with a reseller in the Northeast, and they got about 70 firewalls that they're doing. And when we went and did the math, it actually saves the reseller some money, and they're not having to flip hardware anywhere. And then it allows them to also go and refresh some of the Gen 6 products that they have out there that are old and need to be upgraded anyways. And so I think for the partner, it ended up saving them a couple $1,000 a month. So it's worth just looking at just as a conversion to our modern platform. It helps us, get our partner community into the systems that help us sell other products, but also there's some cost advantages if you haven't looked at it yet.
Yeah, and it's not lost on us that while we are simplifying things ultimately and streamlining, that it can get confusing, right? We know we're not in many cases the only vendor you're working with, and keeping track of all this can get challenging, which is why we encourage you to reach out to us, reach out to your account manager. I think oftentimes the initial reaction of, hey, what are you doing? Right. When we actually step through it and look at the numbers like JT mentioned and how it's going to actually impact your business, usually we come out on the right side. And if there's situations that are challenging for you and your business, right, we're always open to have a conversation to see if there's something we can do to help, offset that, right? Or put a plan together to help you transition and not have the impact be negative, have it be a positive one. So it's just the communication thing. That's ultimately what, myself, my team, JT, his team, Austin, his team. It's a nice, job security for us to help kind of connect the dots, right? It's not just about throwing the info out. We want to help you take advantage of it.
There is a question here just from
Yeah.
Jean-Francois. It sounds like maybe curious. They're on CCAS, still don't know what's happening with their existing deployed products. So one, Matt mentioned the conversion SKUs. That's a great starting place, working with your account manager. And let's just talk about what that path looks like for you. So it's more of a conversation. And so please reach out to us if you're not sure who to work with, but we want to make sure we're guiding you with those conversion SKUs. And then you mentioned that you're in the MSSP program, not to confuse everybody, but it used to be called a MSSP program. We transitioned that to service provider program. So those are one and the same. So Jean-Francois, it sounds like you're already in the right direction, taking the first steps. It's just about those conversion SKUs and working with your account manager to, make that move over. So happy to work with you on that. Yeah.
Cool. Any others before I jump ahead here?
We're good.
We good. All right. Now we got to get into the meat of this preso. I'm going to build this out here. Some data from Gartner and other sources, things that we've talked about before. Not to name any recent situations that have occurred in our industry, but we know that roughly 60% of all security breaches are due to misconfigurations, primarily on the firewall, but other security tools. We know that the average time that it's taken, the bad actors to start exploiting these is super quick. We also know that the average time to patch is longer than any of us would like to be. And, we have human beings involved in this equation, right? So there's always going to be additional risk. We can't take risk to zero. However, we believe that there is a way to help deliver additional value to your customers, have the insurance of having a team of experts behind you, and really flatten that risk curve out and deliver what could be a perfect scenario, right? Better economy of scale for you, lower cost, total cost to your customers as they factor in compliance requirements and cyber insurance, and actually overall reduced risk because we're all able to focus on the things that we do best, right? The offering from SonicWall, the technology, the preventive technology, and the program with, things like assurance, but having our NOC standing behind you when it comes to your firewall management to ensure best practices are met and you're getting the most and the proper configuration out of that firewall. So when we talk about managed protection service suite, which we teed up, it's all about outcomes, right? So we have APSS, which is the self-managed version, you delivering this to your customers. Many of you today are offering an MPSS-like service right now. But in our conversations, we also know that there is, a group of partners that maybe they're new to managed services, they're trying to bridge to managed services, might be as simple as not having enough headcount, which we know can be a challenge, security expertise, that maybe there's some room for improvement, right? Maybe, the managed firewall offering, you have some concerns of what you're delivering, and from a risk reduction perspective, that's where MPSS comes in, right? It's a white label ready solution where it's our NOC team, our Sonic Sentry NOC team, standing behind you to ensure best practices are met from configuration, all change add requests, all firmware updates are going to be able to be outsourced to our NOC team with you as the point of contact for your customers. It's really a staff augmentation play. And again, we talked about this last time. When I first saw it, I was a little concerned myself. I'm like, hey, are we positioning this to create conflict with our MSP partners, which is the lifeblood of our business? And that was my initial gut reaction. I know many of you maybe have had that, but we've had more conversations with folks. It's really come to light that, especially when we look at the numbers, which we'll look at some examples here, the additional value that's being offered, in many cases, we're able to, help you guys scale in a fashion that maybe you can't today from a cost perspective. So, Austin, JT, I know you have some thoughts here. Maybe toss them out there and we can dig in a little bit.
Yeah, you hit on the personas, Matt, but I'll just share a couple of conversations I've had with partners. So one was a partner, he's getting a little bit older, looking at stepping away from the business a little bit. Not that he doesn't want to run it, and he's still got plenty of time left that he wants to hold on to things, but he just doesn't want to have to be so involved in the day-to-day. He's a small team. And so when he saw this, I think again initially had that gut reaction, like, hold on a second, like I'm doing this day in and day out. As he saw that it augments his team, gets him more time back in the day, he's realizing, oh, cool. So I get to, take more vacations, get more time back in my life where I'm not babysitting this stuff and worried about it and up late at night trying to make sure everything's buttoned up. Right. So that was one conversation. The other one, again, is working more with like junior techs and just really having a hard time sourcing qualified people in their area. They were in a particularly rural area. Like, how the heck am I going to find these techs and trust that they're doing the right thing? And I have to spend a ton of time training them. This gives them the ability to ramp them, working with our team, our engineers, to make sure that we get the initial part down, but post that deployment, they have a ton of confidence being backed by that Sonic Sentry NOC team. So just two examples. There's a lot of different scenarios, but I wanted to share those because I know other partners are kind of going through the same things.
Yeah, and the Matt, you and I talked about this one yesterday before we hopped on here. Was partner had a really talented level 2, level 3 engineer. He had two of them, and they both took new jobs and moved out of state. And so, in the period of 6 weeks, owner of this business went from having resources that can manage firewalls, SonicWall included, to not. And he sees this as an opportunity to reduce that risk. And so now he's got more consistency around just who's managing the fleet of devices in their network. He knows that he's backstopped by us, and his higher paid employees can be working on some of their newer projects like AI readiness and Office 365, like security consolidations and zero trust network access projects. So he's shifting those resources that are typically expensive and using our MPSS as a cost control mechanism. That's another really cool option.
Yeah, that's great. And so high level, the way this works, right, is you guys leverage MPSS service. You guys are the front end, right? It's much like our MDR offering, right? Where we're kind of Alfred behind the scenes to you guys and gals being Batman, the front end. We want you to really have that relationship, deliver the value to the customer. Same thing applies with MPSS. So if you'd like to, deploy this yourselves, right? You have the ability to do that and have that, kind of implementation fee that you guys build into your offering. The other option is you can leverage remote installation from SonicWall. But once the firewall is deployed and initial configuration is done, right, and you license it with MPSS, that's when our NOC team's really going to come in, take over, ensure those best practices are met, from the site assurance configuration guide, start building out, the reporting for you. The other thing that MPSS offers is you do have an enhanced level of support through the MPSS team, right? Which I think is an important value add. Beyond that, we talked about this. MPSS firewalls automatically eligible for the $200,000 cyber warranty through site assurance. Some additional value beyond the fact that we're going to be offering this 24/7, which that's another piece that came up, even in situations where, maybe the bench is strong enough to manage it. Not everyone has the capability to do this 24/7, right? So there's additional value, from a scale perspective that we're able to offer and help back you up on. Talked about it, right? A way to extend your team without adding headcount. We know that, great network and security technicians aren't falling off trees for all of us. Big cybersecurity skills gap here. So helping to offset that. And then, obviously just the peace of mind of having our Sonic Century team of experts standing behind you, I think is really important, as well as the additional reporting that you're going to have access to, right? So when you're going into your customers, no news is good news in security, but sometimes you have controllers or principals at companies that are going, well, what the heck have you done for me lately? Right. So doing a good job, oftentimes you can work yourself out of a job or raise questions. So a way for you to go in, communicate the value that you're delivering to your customers. That's another value that's coming alongside the NPSS offering.
Yeah, you've had it on there a couple times, Matt, but those executive reports or executive summaries that we provide to the partners. If you like an example of that, you can maybe just ping, hey, shoot me an example, or we'll link an example of it here in the chat so you can see what those executive summaries look like.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, and I think you hit on it, Matt, but I just want to reiterate, all white labeled, right? So it's your logo, it's your delivery. So how you want to position this, how you want to communicate it, it's just available to access, right? And that's what's important. We don't want this to be SonicWall getting in between you and the customers. It's with you and it's delivered to the customer through you. So that's most important at the end of the day.
And we may have briefly touched on it, but it's delivered monthly or annually, right? So if you're a partner and you're delivering monthly service and you want to bill it that way, I knew that. I'm always jumping ahead of you, Matt.
No, it's good. The key component, right, is it's only available to service provider partners, right? So formerly known as MSSP program, you have to be in the service provider program to have access to the SKUs. It is available on the no commit monthly option, just like APSS is available. It's also available in 1, 2, and 3 year SKUs as well, right? Depending on if your customer, maybe we've seen the pendulum swing a little bit, right? Wherever, COVID time, everyone was moving to CapEx avoidance, moving to OpEx. I've seen, recently maybe a little swing back depending on the industry. Controllers maybe wanting to be a little more, maybe subscription fatigue, right, is the situation that's occurring. So you have options again, but in either case, you have to be in the service provider program. So you see here service provider onboarding at sonicwall.com. This will be later on in the session as well. If you're interested in exploring this, hit that alias up or hit us up directly. There's really no downside to getting into the service provider program, right? You're not required to spin licensing up, but it's another avenue vehicle for you. And we'll talk, one-on-one some of the advantages, but it's really nice because it's self-service provisioning of licensing. If a distributor's down, you're not having to go get quotes, right? You know what your price is going to be based on your tier, and you can start to build your cost modeling out. And just the ease of getting licenses, right? You don't have to hit your rep up to get a special pricing request and then get a quote back from Disty. You can just move quickly with no commitment. So that's the high level on MPSS. Maybe some questions popping in, hopefully.
Yeah, there's a couple. We'll start the first one. Eric, do we share admin level NSM access with the Sonic Century team so that their engineers can have full access to our NSM SaaS? That's part of the reason we put it into that service provider program, and the devices that you do allow access to, our team can configure it. Part of the onboarding determines what sort of engagement you want. So there's we're probably more detailed than we have to get into on this call, but there are options for that. If you want it like almost fully managed and you don't touch it, yes. There are some partners that want more of a co-managed check with me experience, and so just depends on how you actually end up wanting to set up. But a high level answer would be yes, in a way. They don't have full access to your NSM SaaS. It's just the applicable products that have MPSS. And then Lucky has a question around with MPSS, what type of response time is there if we need to apply a new policy or modify an existing one? I think it was laid out in the documentation, Austin, that you shared above. I'll try to go find it, but if you know that off the top of your head.
There's a full SLAs, and maybe as a follow-up, we'll get that attached to this when we send out the recording of this call. So we're working on that. Obviously, we know that's important for MSPs to have that very consistent SLA and service level that they're providing to their customers. So I think probably worth a more in-depth view that I could just give you guys in that one pager we're going to send out. So we'll follow up on that. Great question, Lucky.
Yeah, most like it's a ticketing system, and there's like a severity and urgency to it. So obviously there's going to be a direct phone access you have to our SOC and NOC team. And so if it's in that category and it's something urgent, there's a higher SLA. So Austin can follow up with the full SLA breakdown.
Very cool. We did a little cost breakdown, just super high level, and we took, probably one of the more popular devices from a volume perspective, the TZ470. And so the way you would trend, and we base this on the monthly option just for apples to apples comparison. So if you were placing a new TZ470, right, you would purchase the bare bones SPP appliance that does not have services or subscription tied to it. MSRP of 935, right? Depending on your partner tier. Are you doing multiple at once? Maybe you're getting deal reg discount if it's above 10K MSRP. Pull that aside, right? We looked at the monthly subscription cost difference. APSS, the unmanaged offering, if you were in the protect tier, which is our entry level tier in the service provider program, so it's only going to get better from here as you move up tiers. APSS is, it's a little over $80 a month partner price. MPSS for the same model is 128 a month partner price. So you're looking at just under about a $50 a month difference in the cost between APSS fully managed by you and MPSS, the fully managed offering by SonicWall. I call it out because initially, right, I think the response was, oh my goodness, this has got to be super expensive. When you kind of break it out this way, you can extrapolate out the math. How many devices do you have, right? What's that annual cost going to be? Hey, can I do this at that same level of expense? And that's not even talking about the additional value that's coming with it, right? 24/7, the additional reporting, the risk reduction, the cyber insurance, access and things like that. So I just wanted to put this in there. All this pricing is available in the service provider price list, but you got to be in the club to get access to that. So definitely, if you have interest, we want to talk to you and talk to you about how that might fit into your business. So I'm going to jump ahead. We've referenced it a lot. We talked about it a lot on these sessions. Partnership with SciAssurance that we have that we're very proud of, the industry first having embedded warranty in the firewall, right, all the way up to $1 million. And we'll talk about, I'm going to jump ahead. MPSS resources, wanted to put these in here. You'll have these hyperlinks when it comes out. You'll be able to access the knowledge base, how to get started with MPSS, and a nice blog post that Sarah Wilkinson wrote for us just the other day, which I think will, reiterate some of the points we made today. But as we talk about our MPSS, let's get the acronym key code out, right? Managed Protection Service Suite. That's the Sonic Sentry NOC team, right? The other side of that, which many of you are aware of, is the SOC team, our MXDR offering, where we have MDR for endpoint, MDR for cloud, and then MDR for network, what we were calling network detection and response for a while. This is important as it pertains to the cyber insurance program with SciAssurance. So if we look at the offering, Gen 7 or newer firewall out of the box, so long as the controls and best practice configuration guide are met and can be demonstrated, 100K warranty out of the box. You add MPSS to it, it's 200K. Well, now, if you add MDR from Sonic Sentry and Cloud Threat Analytics from Sonic Sentry, now all of a sudden you have access to 500K warranty per firewall. You add the cloud email security to that, now you have access to $1 million warranty, as well as access to discounted flat rate cyber insurance from SciAssurance for your customers. So, right, it's clear, right? As you add additional services, risk is going down. Overall, your customers are going to have access to more coverage here.
Yeah, and I think this ties into Josh's question in the chat, which was like, if you're already committed to the legacy solutions graded now managed service offering, managed security services, or Sonic Sentry team, as a long-term partner, they're already doing SOC services, security operations center. What's the differentiation between MPSS and the SOC services? It's a really good question. I think it takes some clarification. MPSS is a license bundle for the firewalls that includes the NOC, like firmware upgrades and that scaled up cyber warranty policy. So I think it's a really good way to transition your historical base of customers that may not be buying services. And Josh, I know you have a mature MSP and you guys have been very successful selling SOC services, but we talk to a lot of customers and a lot of partners that haven't made that full transition yet. And so MPSS for a lot of them, for a lot of folks on this call, can serve as a transitionary way to get your customers thinking about what actually managing it security infrastructure looks like versus just buying a renewal. And so that's what the focus around MPSS is, to have a bundled license that gives our partner community a way to sell into SOC services. Of course, the end goal, as Matt outlined here, is that we could have a fully staffed SOC behind that. And whether that's something that you as a partner provide or it's sourced from us on the Sonic Sentry side, I think the validation point is that the $1 million in coverage comes from those four pieces. One of them is the firewall, but there's also the MDR, there's also the cloud security, there's also the email security. So you think about talking to your customers, those should be the four tenants that you're offering. And I know most of you, many of you on the call already offer that. But what we're trying to do is consolidate that and simplify it for you and bring it into a risk conversation versus a product feature conversation. Hopefully that helps answer it. It's a really good question, Josh, because it comes up often, and I can understand the kind of clarification. So thank you for asking it.
And it goes back to that point we were making, which is we see this as two paths, right? You want to go self-managed, and in Josh, in your case, maybe APSS is that path for you because you have, again, that legacy relationship and you're doing a lot of this stuff yourself. This MPSS offering is for that JC just described, right? That persona or those multiple personas looking for certain things, and bridging that gap between maybe a VAR that's trying to make their way to MSP or an MSP that's trying to enhance what they're able to offer their customers. So it's a good conversation and good questions.
We had a call yesterday with similar partner up in the Pac Northwest, mature MSP, right, offering a pretty robust managed firewall offering, right? Actually, a legacy partner with Solutions Granite, right? Our Sonic Sentry team now, so very similar situation. And they're looking at this. They're actually today they're leveraging APSS, right? So out of the gate, they have access to the 100K warranty. They're also offering MDR through Sonic Sentry team and Cloud Threat Analytics and looking to add cloud email security. So for them, they're going, shoot, we're doing a lot of this. The missing piece is actually the managed firewall, right? So they're actually looking at it as a way, because they're in a similar situation from building out their bench. Could we maybe divert some resources to other parts of our business to focus on? Even though we feel like we have a pretty mature managed firewall offering, can we offload that to SonicWall? They're running the math on it right now. It's looking favorable for them. The other thing it does is it's that, second key to start unlocking this additional value through the insurance program for their customers, which they already have a couple of the pieces in place. I mean, it ties it all together. And just, we've obviously worked a lot with Kirsten at Assurance. And what we're doing, we're subsidizing the cost, right, through SonicWall to drive this. And the cool thing is, once you start getting to that 500K level, that's where that discounted flat rate cyber insurance is starting to become available to your customers, right? So that's where there was a resource page. Let's see here. Hit this microsite. There's a wealth of information here on how to take advantage of, this program. The other thing I will say, we've had some partners that, depending on the contours of their business, were interested in even outside and in addition to what we're doing and offering, right, at no cost, exploring some different partnership opportunities with Assurance. They have the ability to, build some bespoke things for you too as well. So I definitely recommend, reaching out there. And if we can help connect any dots for you, we'd like to. At the end of the day, what this does is it drives best practices through our community, right? It lowers the risk, not only for us, but for our customers, and we drive additional value to them. It's a pretty good story. Really is.
There was a question in the actual proper question and answer section, so thank you, David, for doing that. It was a question about would our tech interact with SonicWall support to set up like SSL VPN and other services, or would we need to log in and do that directly? The initial expectation is the firewall's configured when it's added to MPSS. So we facilitate that in kind of two ways. You can do remote install services where our team would do it for you, or you could like copy a configuration from an old firewall or do the initial setup and then post that initial setup. MPSS will help. Really think about the managed protection suite coming through. If your tech set up SSL VPN, but they left something exposed that shouldn't be, MPSS would flag that and offer a remediation or a recommendation to fixing it. And then there was that question earlier, which is like, who does the fixing? There's some choice that you as the partner have around who does it. If you're looking to completely offload it, we have an option for that.
Cool. Let's jump. How are we doing on time here? Doing pretty good. We got 10 minutes. Let's zip through this. So we talked about the offering. Now we want to talk about some programs and promotions that can help you take advantage of this, get introduced, and help continue to drive the margins for your business. Ahead of that, it's just we got to get this out, right? We're coming up on the next round of devices that are going last order date for 1-year renewals. That's 3650s, 3600s, TZ600s, and TZ400s. So be aware of that. You should have been contacted by your account manager with some list of legacy devices that are maybe closer to going into support as well. I will say this just kind of as a broad statement. There's going to be some additional little carrots here to maybe go access that. We want to get the old hardware off the street and we want to get into the new generation. So stay in touch. Like we want to make it attractive for you to be able to move on as many of these as quickly as possible, right? So beyond what we're going to talk about here in a sec, get with your account manager, see if we can put a program together to help you accelerate that. Key action items. So we just talked about it, review the list, see what you have in your environment. And if you have that legacy hardware, let's figure out the best way for you to get that upgraded. It could be through the 3 and free program, right? The old secure upgrade is now 3 and free. Right. So not only do you get the 3 years of subscription services, you're getting the hardware and you're also getting license entitlements to Cloud Secure Edge to help you, start to modernize your remote access and maybe move away from SSL VPN in a lot of cases. We also have Sonic Protect. We've released some Gen 8 hardware. We know that there's other things coming and you're kind of in this interesting point in time where it's like, hey, do I want to sit and wait for that? Do I want to get them upgraded to Gen 7 now, or is there something I can do to maybe bridge the gap? And that's where Sonic Protect comes in. It's locking in a price on your subscription. You can do a 3 or a 5-year Sonic Protect. Let's say, you're not interested in moving to the monthly program. You're not sure right now if you want to put in a TZ470 or maybe you want to wait for that Gen 8 device. Go Sonic Protect on your TZ400. Lock in that subscription cost. And when that TZ480 is available, right, you can purchase the bare bones appliance and just get those services transferred over. It's almost like an inverse 3 and free is the way I think about it. And then obviously the one that's near and dear to all of our hearts on here is the service provider monthly program. I think we have a pathway to just make sure everyone knows where to reach out on that if they're interested. We talked about CSE. I've got JT here, who's our CSE guru. A lot of old SMA 100 appliances out there. We wanted to, accelerate and make it interesting in terms of, having conversations with those folks to maybe move them off of the legacy SMA 100 and, get into CSE. So you can read this here. Opportunity to get up to 54% off a 3-year Cloud Secure Edge license for up to 4 times the number of users you have, currently licensed on your SMA today. This originally was cut off June 30th. We decided to extend it through the end of the month here, the end of our quarter. So if you have some, legacy SMA appliances, you're interested in having a conversation here, we got a little more time to take advantage of this, pretty aggressive offer.
That's great. Yeah. Funny how you look at these AI tools on the side and they give different summaries. Don't ever trust AI for everything, people. Two otter AI things listened to the exact same thing and gave completely different summaries. So, you know what? Maybe that summary wouldn't be the best. And the pressure sales tactic where it's like you don't use the full version, so we cut you off at 30 minutes. That's crazy. That's a great promo. Anybody's got those SMAs out there. If you haven't looked at CSE, I mean, it's super simple. We've got a really cool release coming out in August that'll help you. So get started on CSE. We're gonna be able to integrate with local Active Directory servers like LDAP in the future, like a very, very near term. As soon as I'm telling you in advance, and our team's gonna kill me for doing it, but just know that like take advantage of this promo, get it on there. We're gonna have a way to support every customer that's using SMA today. So if you haven't looked at that, this is a 54% off. If you want to make some money, I mean, it's pretty aggressive.
Cool. This is the brainchild of the other fanning on the call, the Heatwave promo. We're talking about trying to aggressively upgrade legacy hardware that's out there. Austin, why don't you take us through the Heatwave here?
Yeah, if you're in Phoenix like I am, you definitely are no stranger to the heat wave. But this is a more hopefully financial heat, adding some fuel to the upgrade motion and lighting some fires under some customers that maybe are a little bit more resistant. So this is a flat cashback rebate to any partner who's looking at purchasing between now and the end of the month. So starting July 7th to July 31st. If they buy a 3 and free SKU, or if they're looking at MPSS and go and check out our service provider program and buy one of the SKUs through there, they're going to get that flat amount back via a rebate. And that'll be paid out in the kind of Q3 timeframe. So the caveat is we want to make sure that these are getting out and deployed and replacing those old units. So there is an expectation that these devices will be registered and kind of up and running in the before September 15th is the cutoff there. So there's a little bit of a submission that you need to do, basically provide us that ship to name and some of the order information. Say, hey, I sold this and it's also been registered and ready to go before September 15th. So again, it's supposed to heat things up and make things a little bit more interesting from a replacement standpoint. You can see the breakdown at the bottom here, starting at the TZ80. You're getting $100 flat rebate for every single one of those that you sell and deploy before September 15th, all the way up to the NSSP series firewalls where you're getting $1,000 back on those. So reach out to your account manager if you have more questions. We'll send this out. I think there's been some emails kind of floating around, but happy to kind of connect the dots and make sure you're taking advantage of this promotion, which feeds nicely into the next slide we have.
Yep.
Which is our rebate incentive. We just launched the 2800 and 3800 at the start of this quarter. So back in May, you're getting 5% back as a rebate for any qualifying 2800 and 3800 sales. So again, lots of rebate money available for you on the table, 5% back between now and July 31st, in addition to what you'd be getting through the Heatwave promo that we also have running.
Giddy up. My favorite one.
Yeah, and then we talked about at the beginning in the EPSS transition, and so we're trying to make things as lucrative as possible as you start to make those migrations. So as you're looking at what's the next path for me, or come August when EPSS is kind of off the table and I need to look at APSS, we want MPSS to be an attractive offer for you and to minimize that initial lift to kind of get into that managed firewall. So we're giving 25% off all of our MPSS annual SKUs. This is for people migrating from the EPSS offering, or if you're looking to move towards monthly. So if you're like, I want to get into monthly billing, we're going to give you 60 days free after that first month of billing. So there is a requirement, a little bit of just a check that needs to happen. So you'll kind of make sure you're in the service provider program and submit some information, but it's pretty, hopefully, again, kind of making that transition easier, giving you some additional margin on the NPSS offerings.
That's great. Yeah, and we talked about that. Again, submission process here. You guys are all going to have access to these slides, so it'll spell it out clearly, as well as the recording as soon as I can get it uploaded to YouTube today. Here's the grand finale. Folks interested in service provider.
Yeah, like we said, right? If we want to make these decisions easy for you, if you're still on the fence on whether or not you want to go that direction, still on the fence on NPSS, here's a way to get a free firewall. So if you haven't taken advantage, we're giving away still 25 free TZ80s to new service provider partners, all you got to do is email us. We'll hop on a quick call just to get you started, get you signed up and everything, and we'll ship you that firewall starting August 1st. So great way to test it out, see what you're getting, get your hands on it. And if you haven't tried the Gen 8 stuff out, here's an easy way to get your hands on a new one. So yep.
Wonderful.
And then there's a follow-on question. It's like Michael Retta, I was asking, is there a promo to convert firewall-based SSL VPN users to CSE? There's no officially named promo, but I would say we're aggressively trying to grow that market. So if you've got an opportunity that just needs some extra pricing or discounting to get you over the fence to win that, we want to help you win and move to modern connectivity. So it could be through the service provider program or through the back-end rebate incentive. We can typically find ways to do it. So reach out to your account rep or talk with myself. And we'd be happy to get you going on that. So happy to do it. So good question.
Awesome. Here's contact info. Hit us up if you want to grab some time, chat through anything. You could also hit sales@sonicwall.com. Thank you all for joining today. It's an important session. A lot of stuff going on. So definitely reach out if you got questions, need clarification, and we'll look forward to having another one of these here in about a month. If you got any topics of interest you want us to cover, throw them our way. We'll incorporate it in, and hope everyone has a great rest of the week. Thanks again for your time. 1 minute over. Not bad.
Thanks, everybody.
See y'all.